Hi, this is Scott Garibay. So today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. I want to talk about the nature of a dungeon master. Dungeon masters are really fascinating people, and here's the point of this video. I think dungeon masters are the most uncool people on the planet and the most useful, and that their value is going to increase almost. It's going to increase exponentially as we move forward. So, why do I believe this? Because of a recent Patrick Willem video. So, Willem is a brilliant um, movie critic, and so Scott, why is wisdom coming from a movie critic? Because American entertainment is American politics. American politics is the most high stakes um, activity that can be even attempted in America today, and everything attempted in America is more important than anything attempted in any other nation because we determine the fate of nations. And I think that's no longer really a debatable subject at all, right? We it's just not debatable, right? We like two wars are going on in the world right now, and nobody's looking at either one of the countries involved. Like there's two wars going on, four countries involved. Everybody's looking at America. What's the fate? What happens? What happens next? These aren't your wars, but you determine the fate of the world, right? And it is true, right? So, and Dungeons and Dragons is an American property. It's extremely, it's critical from the perspective of determining um, what happens for the Dungeons and Dragons is so Dungeons and Dragons, I think, is in position to determine the fate of specifically the world's art. I think what will happen in the world on art is specifically determined by Dungeons and Dragons. So let's get all the way there. So Patrick William talks about Ryan Reynolds, and he explains that Ryan Reynolds has reached a new level of American celebrity, where the star is the brand. They're not just a massively important American star, which it means they're a world star. It means they're literally a brand, and a brand that's more powerful than corporations can build, right? So he talked about Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds has purchased multiple companies and flipped them for billions, right? Like it's happened multiple times, and no business person could do this at the rate he's done it or with the success rate that he's done it. And it comes from his celebrity. Really fascinating, right? So they talked about how he got here, how he built this massively powerful brand, and what they talked about is the character he portrays in almost all his movies. He doesn't really act. He just hey, I'm here. It's Ryan Reynolds. Hey, it's me, right? And there's this whole discussion of are you presenting yourself or are you presenting the characters? But if you're doing a character in every movie and it's pretty much the same character in every movie, you're just presenting yourself, right? John Malkovich does not act, right? Like William Defoe doesn't act. He's just the same person in every film, right? And there's nothing wrong with it. It's a distinct type, right? So I'm just going to say Ryan Reynolds, and this is the character he's portraying, but I would argue his character is he's just presenting himself, right? So what is Ryan Reynolds? Well, first of all, Patrick William talked about another um, reviewer who said what he's doing is the popular guy, right? And what is the popular guy? One, they're they are the template for popularity, right? One, they're conventionally handsome, right? That is a good description of Ryan Reynolds. Just conventionally handsome, like if you say, "Hey, I think Ryan Reynolds is ugly," people no one's gonna be like, they're like, "Do you need glasses?" Or like maybe I can help you in some way. Let's go to the bookstore and start reading more, or like they're gonna be like they're not always gonna be like, oh yeah, you're right, like, and that's really because it's supposed to be the subjective thing. But when you say conventionally handsome, you're saying no. Things that are supposed to be subjective are not. They're fully objective, and that matches something else I'm highly interested in. I don't believe that art review is subjective in any way. I think it's completely objective. I think you can objectively say, like, I think the Statue of David of objectively quality. And if you say it's not, you're judging yourself. You're not judging that piece of art, right? So yeah. So Stay with me here. All right. He plays the popular guy. What is the popular guy? Conventionally handsome, right? And then here's the part that you can get away with from that first part, right? You don't care about anything very much. And that's the Dungeon Master part. So I believe that the Dungeon Master is the inversion of the popular guy, okay? The popular guy doesn't care very much about anything. The Dungeon Master cares very much about everything. And it's the last person on the earth that does. In a world where we're going into silos in every single discipline, the Dungeon Master is a world builder. And what Gary Gygax built in 1974 is unmatched anywhere in the world. He built a platform to take a human and position them for hyper interest in every single discipline humanity has ever attempted. To fully understand humans, to fully understand Xenos, to fully understand culture, to fully understand science, to fully understand magic, to understand the metamorphosis between, the line between the natural and the supernatural, to delve deep into astronomy, to delve deep into religion, to delve deep into pantheons, to delve deep into math, art, to have massive vocabularies, to be able to identity jump, right? To be able to be in literally within 5 minutes, speak with the voice of a beautiful woman who is an artisan, and in the next, literally in the next sentence, speak with the voice of a rugged, scarred man who doesn't know how to read. And nothing else on the planet calls for this, right? And you can't do it well by lazing your way through the world, not caring very much about anything, right? And it's super cool to not care very much about anything. Everybody wants to be like, oh, why are you taking this so seriously, right? And the Dungeon Master is put on the hook, right, by Gary Gygax in 1974 and said, you are not released from any form of knowledge. You must master it all. And you have 85 years on this planet to do it. Go. And the Dungeon Master is the inversion of Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds is a person that's not highly useful for anything, right? But someone who everyone wants to spend time with, right? And I think the Dungeon Master is the opposite. It's someone who cares very deeply about everything, releases themselves from taking nothing non-seriously, right? And is the epitome and is the inversion of the popular guy, the non-popular sage, right? And I'm okay with that because we're where the world is going next, right? And the popular guy is essentially, it's a mirror of the 1980s Chad, right? Which is essentially like the dodo, almost extinct, right? And it is really fascinating. So my supposition is that there's a cost to being a dungeon master, a cultural cost, a social cost, a high cost to being a dungeon master. And what we do is outrageously difficult. Do you know how hard it? So this Sunday I ran a tabletop role-playing game in the session, and I had 2 people committed to showing up. 6 people showed up, right? And I don't know how many will show up for the next round, right? But I'm excited, right? And pulling people together in a world that is pulling people apart is challenging. But we are on the hook for it, right? Gary Gygax said, you are not released. The rest of the world can hovel off into their corners. The rest of the world can say, this is my interest. I'm only interested in this thing, and I have to learn this thing. We're not given that liberty, right? We are the inversion of the popular guy. We are the unpopular sage. The rest of the world can care very little about anything, right? And be considered cool. The Dungeon Master is uncool because they have to care deeply about everything. The Dungeon Master is the inversion of Ryan Reynolds. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and center traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.